In this video, I'll define complementary colors. I'll talk about their two main properties and how to use them effectively. All of this is in my book, Ellen's Guide to Color, Light, and Shading on Amazon. So let's get started. Complements are opposite each other on the color wheel. Orange, which is made up of red and yellow, its complement is blue, so together they have all three primary colors. Green, which is blue and yellow, has a complement which is red. Violet is red and blue, so its complement is yellow. For blue-green, the complement of blue is orange and the complement of green is red. So the complement of blue-green is red-orange. Now, orange and blue are the most extreme in temperature because orange is in the middle of the warm colors and blue is in the middle of the cool colors. Red and green are the most similar in value. If you squint, they look like they're about the same degree of darkness. Yellow and violet are the most different in values. Yellow is very light and violet is dark. And yellow, green, and red-violet are the border between warm and cool. Complementary colors have two important properties. When juxtaposed, they dazzle, and when mixed together, they become dark and dull. Juxtaposing complementary colors like this red and green using full saturation results in a very bright image that's difficult to view, where the edges seem to vibrate. If you outline the squares in black, this vibration seems to decrease. When you use complementary colors with different values like violet and yellow, this combination is easier to view than the red and green, which have similar values. Also, if you change the value of the red by making it darker and less saturated, this combination is also easier to view than this first one. You could use this to develop an eye path where you start with dark, dull colors and then gradually go to the focus where everything is brighter and lighter. So I just talked about the first property of complements, which is when they are juxtaposed, they dazzle. This is the second property. When mixed together, they produce a brown or gray. So this red and green, when mixed together, create a range of beautiful semi-neutral colors, which is much livelier than brown or gray paints. And if you want this to be grayer, add a little light blue. This first design looks warm and stuffy. If you add a little blue, the complement to orange, the design appears fresher and less oppressive, while still composed mainly of warm colors. As a color becomes more saturated, balance it with a larger area of neutral, dull colors. So here we have equal amounts of red and green, and they're both highly saturated, meaning very bright. I darkened the green and gave it more area so that these little red spots seem to sparkle. The energy of the red increases with the reduction in the area it covers. And this is like a holly tree with the leaves having dark green color and the little red berries seem to sparkle. Here are a few ways to use complementary colors. You could just use one pair, as I did here, with the orange being brighter so it occupies less area than the duller blue. You could use two complementary colors that are juxtaposed like these two. But one of the pairs should dominate. And since green is a dominant color here, the green and red is the dominant pair. You could also use a tetrad, which are two complementary pairs that form a rectangle on the color wheel. The value and saturation of one or both of the complements should be altered. So this is a light, bright orange log next to a dark, dull blue-gray sand. So there are value contrasts, saturation contrasts, and contrasts in complements. Over here, we have a saturated green next to the backs of these deers, which are dark, dull, and red. In this picture, I used yellow-orange for the light area on the birds, reflecting the late afternoon sun, and I used blue-violet for the shadows, which would be reflected from the blue sky. And these two complementary colors are continually touching here, here, really all over the place, and that gives sparkle to the painting. And then when you mix them together, you get a brown that looks like it belongs to the rest of the colors. In my London painting, I used mainly orange and blue. The bright orange in the tree is next to a dull blue. Over here, a dull orange from a reflection of the buildings is next to a dull blue, which is reflecting the sky. And when I mix them together, I get a brown. This painting is almost exclusively orange and blue. We have orange objects like the oranges next to blue curtains, or here this blue container next to the orange table. But in addition, in various areas, I have orange and blue juxtaposed with similar values, so they look like they're part of the same object. So here with the curtains, and also here you can see orange and blue juxtaposed. And that gives the whole painting some sparkle. How can we make this dog pop forward? Well, if we add a little dull red to the background, there seems to be more depth to the picture. And that's because we're comparing complementary colors, red and green, but also saturation, a dull red and a bright green. Now, what about this picture? The background looks drab and uninteresting. But if we add a dark green to the red and vary the values a little bit in the background, it looks more interesting. So complementary colors are opposite each other on the color wheel and contain all three primary colors. They dazzle when juxtaposed, and they create a neutral brown color usually when mixed together. If you want gray, you can add a little light blue to this. But this is much more interesting than brown or gray paints. So reach for red and green and mix them together rather than using your earth colors. And the bright orange or the saturated color should cover less area than the complementary color, which is a duller blue here. And finally, put the complementary colors all around the painting because it unifies it. This dull orange, for example, has the same value as the dull blue, so it looks like part of the cloth. And it makes sense because it looks as if part of the table is seen underneath. My next video in this Color and Light series is about sunlight versus blue skylight.